3 true Chuck E. Cheese horror stories. Story 1. The Tubes Part 1. My name is Victor, and I was 34 years old when this happened. I had taken my son Marcus to a Chuck E. Cheese in Jacksonville, Florida on a Saturday afternoon. It was around 2:45 p.m., and the place was packed with children's birthday parties and families. Marcus was 4 years old, and he loved the climbing tubes, the colourful tunnels that snaked through the air above the arcade games. I was watching him play when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was someone else in the tubes with the children, an adult, a man I had never seen enter. Subscribe now and leave a comment below, because what that man was doing in those tubes still haunts me. Part 2. Chuck E. Cheese was one of Marcus's favourite places. He loved the games, the tickets, the animatronic characters, but most of all, he loved the climbing structure. The tubes were a maze of plastic tunnels suspended about 10 feet off the ground, with slides, ball pits, and little windows where kids could wave at their parents below. I had brought Marcus here maybe a dozen times over the past year. The routine was always the same. Buy tokens, let him play some games, then watch him burn off energy in the climbing tubes, while I sat at a table nearby drinking overpriced soda and checking my phone. That Saturday was busier than usual. 3 birthday parties were happening simultaneously, which meant the place was chaos. Kids running everywhere, parents trying to keep track of their children, the constant electronic beeping of arcade machines. I had found a table with a clear view of the tube structure. Marcus had climbed up about 5 minutes earlier, and I could see him occasionally through the small windows, his excited face appearing and disappearing as he navigated the tunnels. Then I saw the man. He was visible through one of the larger tube windows, maybe 15 feet off the ground. At first, my brain did not register what I was seeing. Adults did not go in the tubes. They were designed for children. But there he was, a grown man wedged into the plastic tunnel, watching the children around him. Part 3. I stood up from my table, trying to get a better angle. The man was maybe 40, with thinning hair and a pale face. He was wearing a dark shirt, and he was pressed against the side of the tube, letting children pass by him while he stayed stationary. He was not playing. He was not trying to retrieve a child. He was just there, watching. I scanned the area for Marcus. I could not see him anymore. He had moved deeper into the tube structure, out of my line of sight. My heart started pounding. I walked quickly toward the climbing structure, my eyes fixed on the window where I had seen the man. He was still there, but now he was talking to a child. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, with blonde pigtails. The girl was nodding at something he was saying. I cupped my hands around my mouth and shouted up at the structure, "Marcus, come down right now." A few parents looked at me. I did not care. Marcus? His face appeared at one of the lower windows. "But Daddy, I want to play more. Now, Marcus, right now." Part 4. Marcus climbed down reluctantly, his face confused and upset. I grabbed his hand and pulled him close. "Did you see a man up there, a grown-up in the tubes?" Marcus nodded. He was asking kids if they wanted to see something cool. He said he had a puppy in his car. My blood ran cold. I looked back up at the tube structure. The man was gone from the window. I scanned every visible section, but could not see him. I walked to the front counter, Marcus still holding my hand. I need a manager right now. There is a man in the climbing tubes. He is talking to children about showing them something in his car. The teenage employee's eyes went wide. She picked up a phone and spoke quickly into it. Within a minute, a manager appeared. A woman in her 30s with a Chuck E. Cheese polo shirt. "Sir, what is going on?" I explained what I had seen, what Marcus had told me. Her face went pale. "The tubes should not have any adults in them. The entrance is too small for most grown-ups." "Well, there is one in there right now." He was talking to a little girl with blonde pigtails. The manager grabbed her radio. "Security, we have a situation at the Sky Tubes. Possible intruder. All staff to the play area immediately." Part 5. Within minutes, 3 employees were stationed around the tube structure, calling for children to come down. Parents were gathering confusion and fear spreading through the crowd. I watched as kids climbed out one by one, sliding down the exit slides, running to their parents. The little blonde girl came down. Her mother scooped her up. "What is going on?" the mother asked. "There was a man in the tubes," I said. "He was talking to your daughter." The mother's face went white. She knelt down. "Sweetie, did a man talk to you up there?" The girl nodded. "He said he had a puppy in his car. He asked if I wanted to see it. But then someone yelled and he went away." That had been me. My shout for Marcus had scared him off. The employees had cleared all the children from the tubes. They were calling up into the structure, demanding that anyone remaining come down immediately. Silence. Then footsteps. The hollow sound of someone moving through plastic tunnels. Everyone looked up. A section of tubes near the back of the structure was shaking. Someone was moving through them quickly, heading toward the far wall. Part 6. The tubes extended over a partition wall that separated the play area from a maintenance corridor. I had never noticed it before, but there was an access panel where the tubes connected to the wall, probably for cleaning and repairs. The man was heading for that panel. 2 employees ran toward the back, trying to cut him off. But by the time they reached the maintenance corridor, we heard a door slam. He was gone. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. They searched the building, the parking lot, the surrounding area. They found the access panel hanging open, a section of ceiling tiles disturbed where someone had climbed through. He had planned this. He knew the building's layout, knew the escape routes. This was not his first time. The police interviewed me, the mother of the blonde girl, and several other parents whose children had been in the tubes. The stories were consistent. A man offering to show children something in his car, asking them their names, telling them not to tell their parents. They pulled the security footage. The cameras showed him entering the building about an hour before I noticed him. He had come in alone, bought a drink, and sat at a table watching the children play. Then, when the place was busiest and parents were most distracted, he had climbed into the tubes. Part 7. The police identified him from the footage. His name was Gerald Dean Whitaker, 44 years old. Registered sex offender with 2 prior convictions for child enticement. He was supposed to be on the registry, prohibited from being within 500 feet of places where children gather. But registries only work if someone checks. They caught him 2 days later at a motel 30 miles away. He did not resist. When they searched his car, they found photographs. dozens of photographs of children at various Chuck E. Cheese locations across 3 states. Some taken from inside the tube structures, looking down at kids in ball pits and slides. He had been doing this for months, going from location to location, finding ways into the play structures, getting close to children. The puppies in the car were a lie, of course. There were no puppies, just rope duct tape and a blanket in his trunk. Gerald Whittaker was charged with multiple counts of child enticement, violating sex offender registry requirements, and possession of child exploitation material. The prosecutor used the evidence from multiple states to build a comprehensive case. He was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Part 8. Marcus does not remember much about that day. He knows we left Chuck E. Cheese suddenly, and he knows I was upset. But he does not know why. I have never told him what the man in the tubes was planning. I do not want that fear living in his head. But it lives in mine. I think about the little blonde girl with the pigtails, how close she came to following a stranger out of that building, how close my son came to the same fate. I was right there, watching the tubes, checking my phone, assuming the play structure was safe because it was designed for children. But predators do not follow the rules. They find ways in. They learn the layouts, the escape routes, the moments when parents look away. I do not take Marcus to indoor play areas anymore. When we go to playgrounds, I stay close. I watch every adult who comes near him. I have become the parent who seems overprotective, who hovers too much. I do not care. I saw what was in Gerald Whittaker's trunk. I heard what he told those children about puppies in his car. If you take your children to places with play structures, please watch them closely. Do not assume the equipment is only for kids. Do not assume that someone wouldn't find a way in, because they do find ways. They plan. They wait for the moments when no one is watching, and they count on parents like me to be distracted by our phones. I will never make that mistake again. Story 2. The Party Room, Part 1. My name is Jasmine, and I was 28 years old when this happened. I worked as a party host at a Chuck E. Cheese in suburban Chicago, Illinois. It was a Saturday evening, 6:30 p.m., and I was setting up for a birthday party in one of the private party rooms. The room was at the back of the building, down a short hallway from the main arcade area. Everything seemed normal until I noticed the ceiling tile. It was slightly crooked, pushed up at one corner like something had disturbed it from above. I stood on a chair to straighten it, and through the gap I saw an eye looking back at me. Subscribe now and leave a comment, because what was hiding above that party room still terrifies me. Part 2. I had been working at Chuck E. Cheese for about 2 years. The job was chaotic, but fun. I ran birthday parties, helped with games and prizes, and occasionally wore the Chucky costume for special appearances. The pay was not great, but I was in college and needed the flexible hours. Our location had 3 private party rooms at the back of the building. They were small spaces, maybe 12 by 15 feet, with tables and chairs and decorations. Parents could book them for birthday celebrations, and I would handle the cake, the pizza, the games, everything the party needed. That Saturday, I was setting up for a 7 p.m. party. A little boy named Jacob was turning 6, and his mum had booked our deluxe package. 15 kids, pizza cake, the whole deal. I was alone in the party room, putting up balloons and arranging the table settings. The room had a drop ceiling, those white tiles in a metal grid that you see in office buildings and retail stores. I noticed the crooked tile while I was adjusting a banner. It was directly above the head of the table where the birthday boy would sit. I grabbed a chair and stood on it to push the tile back into place. That is when I saw the eye. Part 3. It was maybe 6 inches away from my face. A human eye, pale blue, staring at me through the gap where the ceiling tile had been disturbed. I screamed and fell backward off the chair, hitting the floor hard. The tile shifted. I heard movement above me, the sound of someone crawling through the ceiling space. I scrambled to my feet and ran out of the room, down the hallway into the main arcade area. "There is someone in the ceiling," I shouted. "Someone is hiding above the party room." The manager on duty. A man named Derek came running. "What are you talking about?" "In the ceiling, above the party room. I saw a person. I saw their eye through a gap in the tiles." Derek looked skeptical, but he followed me back to the room. The ceiling tile was back in place now, perfectly aligned, like nothing had happened. "It was right there," I said, pointing. The tile was pushed up, and someone was looking down at me. Derek grabbed a chair and stood on it. He pushed up the tile and looked into the space above. "I do not see anyone." "They moved. I heard them crawling away." He pulled out his flashlight and shined it into the ceiling space. I watched his face change. "Oh God," he said. Part 4. Derek climbed down from the chair, his face pale. "There is stuff up there. Blankets, water bottles, food wrappers. Someone has been living in our ceiling." He grabbed his radio. "All staff code red. We have an intruder in the building. Clear all customers from the party room hallway. Call 911. The next few minutes were chaos. Staff members herded families away from the back of the building. Someone called the police. I stood in the hallway shaking, staring at the door to the party room. Then I heard a crash. It came from the party room next door. Room 2, which was supposed to be empty. Derek ran toward the sound. I followed against my better judgment. The door was open. Inside, a ceiling tile had fallen to the floor, shattered into pieces, and standing in the middle of the room was a man. He was thin, dirty, maybe 40 years old. His clothes were stained and torn. His eyes were wild, darting around the room looking for an exit. "Do not move," Derek shouted. "The police are on their way." The man looked at us, then at the window. The party rooms had small windows that looked out onto the parking lot. He ran for the window. Part 5. He hit the glass at full speed, shattering it. I heard him cry out in pain as he fell through, tumbling into the parking lot. Derek ran to the window. "He is getting up. He is running." I heard sirens in the distance. The police were close. The man stumbled across the parking lot, blood streaming from cuts on his arms and face. He made it to the edge of the property before the first police car pulled in. They caught him in the parking lot of the business next door, trying to hide behind a dumpster. The police searched the ceiling space above our party rooms. What they found was disturbing. Someone had been living up there for over a month. They found a sleeping bag, pillows, bottles filled with urine piles of food wrappers. He had been stealing food from our kitchen at night, using the bathroom in the ceiling space, sleeping directly above rooms where children had birthday parties. And they found photographs. Part 6. The photographs were Polaroids taken through gaps in the ceiling tiles. pictures of children at birthday parties sitting at tables, opening presents, eating cake. Pictures taken from directly above, looking down. Pictures that no one had authorized, that no one had known were being taken. There were dozens of them. The man had been watching birthday parties from the ceiling, photographing children for weeks. The police identified him as Harold Eugene Benson, 53 years old. He had a long history of trespassing and voyeurism charges, but nothing that would have flagged him as a danger to children. He had discovered our Chuck E. Cheese by accident, he told the police. He had been looking for a warm place to sleep and found the ceiling access. Then he discovered the party rooms, the children. He claimed he was just taking pictures, just watching. He never would have done anything more. The prosecutor did not believe him. Neither did the jury. Part 7. Harold Benson was charged with trespassing voyeurism and multiple counts of photographing minors without consent. The prosecutor argued that his behavior showed a pattern of escalation, that the photographs were evidence of predatory intent. He was convicted and sentenced to 8 years in state prison. But the trial revealed something even more disturbing. Harold Benson had been doing this at other locations too. The police found evidence that he had accessed ceiling spaces at 2 other Chuck E. Cheese restaurants, a children's museum, and an elementary school. In some of those locations, children had reported seeing eyes in the ceiling or hearing strange sounds from above. Parents and staff had dismissed it as imagination. No one had believed them. The Chuck E. Cheese, where I worked, closed for 2 weeks for a complete ceiling inspection. They found 3 other places where tiles had been disturbed, where someone could have been watching from above. The company installed security measures motion sensors in the ceiling spaces, cameras in hallways, tamper-proof tile clips. They did not want another Harold Benson finding his way in, but the damage was done. Part 8. I quit my job a month after the incident. I could not work in that building anymore. Every time I walked past the party rooms, I looked up at the ceiling. Every time I heard a sound from above, I froze. I could not stop thinking about all the parties I had hosted while Harold Benson was lying in the ceiling space watching through gaps in the tiles. How many times had he been up there while I set up decorations? How many children had he photographed while I led them in birthday songs? The thought made me sick. I work in an office now. No drop ceilings, no hidden spaces, no children to worry about. But I still think about the parents who brought their kids to those birthday parties. The ones whose children appeared in Harold Benson's photographs. They have no idea their child was watched, documented, targeted. Most of them will never know. I think about Jacob, the little boy whose 6th birthday party I was setting up when I found the crooked tile. If I had not noticed it, if I had not climbed up to fix it, Harold Benson might still be up there, still watching, still photographing, maybe getting ready to do something worse. If you take your children to places with drop ceilings, pay attention. Look up sometimes. Listen for sounds that do not belong, because you never know who might be watching from above. Story 3. The Parking Lot Part 1. My name is Andre, and I was 36 years old when this happened. I'd taken my daughter Keisha to a Chuck E. Cheese in Columbus, Ohio, for her 7th birthday. It was a Sunday afternoon, around 4:15 p.m., and we had just finished her party. The parking lot was crowded as we walked to our car, Keisha holding her bag of prizes and leftover cake. That is when I noticed the van. A white cargo van with no windows parked directly behind my vehicle, blocking me in. The engine was running. The driver was watching us through his side mirror, and in the back of the van, I could see movement. Someone else was inside. Hit subscribe before I continue, because what those men were planning still makes me check my rearview mirror every time I leave a parking lot. Part 2. Keisha's birthday party had been a success. 10 of her friends from school. Pizza cake games, the whole experience. She was tired but happy, clutching a stuffed animal she'd won with her tickets. The Chuck E. Cheese was in a busy shopping centre, surrounded by other stores and restaurants. The parking lot was shared with a grocery store and a few retail shops, which meant it was always crowded on weekends. I had parked near the back of the lot, away from the entrance, because I had arrived early to set up, and those were the only spaces available. By the time the party was over, the lot had filled up even more. We walked through the rows of cars, Keisha chattering about her favourite games and the friends who had come to celebrate. I was half listening, focused on getting her home before she crashed from the sugar high. Then I saw the van. It was parked directly behind my SUV, so close that I could not have backed out if I tried. The engine was running a low rumble that I could hear from 20 feet away. The driver was visible in the side mirror, watching us approach. Part 3. I slowed down my instincts, screaming that something was wrong. "Daddy, what is wrong?" Keisha asked. "Nothing, sweetie. Just stay close to me." I looked around the parking lot. There were other people nearby, loading groceries into their cars, walking toward the stores. We were not alone, but the van was positioned perfectly. If I walked to my car, I would be between my vehicle and the van, blocked from view by the larger vehicles on either side. I pulled out my phone and pretended to check a message while I observed the van. The driver was a man, maybe 40. With a shaved head. He was watching us through his mirror, not even trying to hide it. And in the back of the van, through the windshield, I could see another figure. A second man sitting in the cargo area, waiting. 2 men, watching a father and his 7-year-old daughter. I did not like this at all. Part 4. I made a decision. We were not going to our car. Not yet. Keisha, change of plans. We're going back inside for a minute. But Daddy, I'm tired. I want to go home. I know, sweetheart. Just for a minute. I forgot something. I took her hand and started walking back toward the Chuck E. Cheese entrance. I didn't run, didn't want to alarm her, but I walked fast. Behind us, I heard a door open. I glanced back. The side door of the van had slid open. The second man was stepping out. He was big, maybe 6'3", wearing a dark jacket despite the warm afternoon. He was walking toward us. I walked faster, pulling Keisha along. "Daddy, you are hurting my hand." "I am sorry, baby. We just need to hurry." The man behind us was gaining ground. I could hear his footsteps on the asphalt. The Chuck E. Cheese entrance was still 50 feet away. Too far. I veered toward the grocery store instead. It was closer. Maybe 30 feet. Part 5. We reached the grocery store entrance, just as the man caught up to us. "Hey buddy, wait up," he said. His voice was friendly, casual. "You dropped something in the parking lot." I did not stop. I pushed through the automatic doors, pulling Keisha inside. The man stopped at the entrance. He stood there for a moment, watching us through the glass, then turned and walked back toward the van. I found a store employee immediately. "I need you to call the police. There are 2 men in a white van in the parking lot. They just tried to follow me and my daughter." The employee looked confused, but she picked up a phone and made the call. I watched through the store windows as the van slowly pulled out of its spot behind my car. It cruised through the parking lot, not fast, not slow, just moving casually toward the exit. By the time the police arrived, the van was gone. Part 6. The police took my statement and the description of the van and the men. They checked the parking lot cameras, but the footage was grainy and the license plate was not clearly visible. "We have had reports of similar incidents in the area," the officer told me. "A white cargo van approaching parents with children. This is the 3rd report this month." "What do they want?" The officer hesitated. "We are not certain. In one case, a woman reported that a man tried to grab her daughter. She fought him off and the van drove away." I felt sick. "You think they're trying to take children? I think you did the right thing by not going to your car. The positioning of the van blocking you in the 2 men, that is a coordinated approach. They were targeting you." He gave me his card and told me to call if I remembered anything else. I drove Keisha home, checking my mirrors every few seconds, taking a longer route than necessary, making sure no one was following us. Part 7. They caught them 3 weeks later. A woman in a Walmart parking lot noticed a white van parked behind her car. When a man approached her and her daughter, she screamed for help. Security guards intervened and the police arrived before the men could escape. Their names were Carl Eugene Pittman and Dennis Wayne Crosby, both in their 40s, both with prior convictions for assault and kidnapping. When they searched the van, they found evidence of a coordinated operation. They had been targeting parents with young children at family-friendly locations: Chuck E. Cheese McDonald's, play places, children's museums. They looked for cars parked in isolated areas, blocked them in, and approached when the parents returned. In most cases, their targets noticed something wrong and escaped, like I did. But not always. The police connected them to the disappearance of a woman and her 8-year-old son from a shopping center in Indiana 6 months earlier. The bodies were found in a remote area outside of town. Carl Pittman and Dennis Crosby were charged with murder kidnapping and a list of other offenses. They are both serving life sentences without the possibility of parole. Part 8. I think about that day in the parking lot often. The van blocking my car. The man walking toward us. The casual, friendly voice asking me to wait. If I had ignored my instincts, if I had walked to my car anyway, if I had let Keisha go ahead of me while I dealt with the dropped item, I would not be here to tell this story. Neither would my daughter. Keisha does not know what almost happened. She remembers Daddy forgetting something and having to go back inside the store. She does not know about the van, or the men, or the bodies they found in Indiana. She is 11 now, happy, healthy, unaware of how close she came. I am not unaware. I will never be unaware again. When we go to public places, I park near the entrance under lights where there are cameras. I watch for vans without windows. I scan the parking lot before we leave, looking for anything out of place. Some people think I am paranoid. They do not know what I know. There are predators who hunt families. They look for opportunities, for parents who are distracted, for children who wander too far. They plan and they coordinate. They wait for the perfect moment. And they count on us to ignore our instincts, to assume that everything is fine, to walk into the trap they have set. I will never make that mistake. If you're ever in a parking lot with your children and something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Do not go to your car. Go back inside. Find help. Call the police. Because it is better to feel foolish than to become a victim. And some mistakes you do not get to make twice.